Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
Fanboy.
Fanboy,
fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
A few years ago, I connected with Phil Eng for Birth of the Dragon, and today I now get to reconnect with him and make a new connection with Andy Owen. We're talking today about a movie that has a title that I wasn't expecting to work this way, but Undercover Punch Gun, a phenomenal film that's on Hi-Ya right now and coming to Blu-ray and DVD this June. Gentlemen, congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Andy, you're the big baddie in this, man. I mean, you know, chipping people, getting revenge on old friends, trying to redeem yourself at some point, but not everything works out the way the villain wants it to.
No, never. Especially with the China censorships with their movies. We can't.
Well, I mean, look, you can. It's not really. I don't. You know, I just like the word villain is kind of. I think is kind of what is subjective, right? I mean, because the villain never thinks he's a villain, right? I mean, that's how you want to write him. And when we wrote Andy's character, we really didn't write him as a villain. We wrote him as a tragic kind of character that's got betrayed, and he's actually doing things that he wants to do that's correct. If you really look at his character, he's actually not doing anything terrible except for later on when he's killing people, right? But I mean, his whole philosophy.
I think that's enough.
But his whole philosophy, the reason that he got there was not an evil thing. It was evils that was done to him. So, you know, we try to keep things a little bit more complex, where it's a little bit less one-dimensional. My character is probably more one-dimensional.
Maybe a little more anti-hero in Andy's sense, because he's
I think more anti-hero.
Okay.
Yeah, a little more anti-hero.
Yeah.
That's why we wrote him.
Well, it makes sense, and it worked for the film, and it's you chopped it down to roughly 91 minutes with all the action scenes and everything else. And then Phil, you were the stunt coordinator and the fight scene coordinator on this. What's it like, Andy, working with Phil as your fight coordinator on this, and him being one of the stars of the film with you?
I mean, we've worked on projects many times. We acted together. He done many action choreographies for me on different projects. So like I told them many other people before, like when I work with Phil, it doesn't seem like it's work anymore. It's just like we're hanging out, you know, doing fun stuff, making money. It's like that, you know. It's always a pleasure working with this clown.
Likewise, clown.
So it doesn't get a little too bossy, even though he's not the director on this, but he is the fight choreographer.
I'm a big asshole on the set. I mean,
he's super bossy. He's a major, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I get scared and I have to just walk away and let him do his thing, you know.
Well,
I mean, the lower the budget, the angrier I get. I mean, in bigger budget movies, when I have, you know, plenty of time and plenty of, you know, things to do, and you know, and not being rushed, I think I'm a little bit more even tempered. But yeah, I get a little bit bossy on the set. I mean, I have to. I think. I mean, I don't want to be the bad guy, but you know, when you have investors, you know, staring down at you, and you got to get certain things done at a certain time. You know, a lot of people are there just to work. I'm there to finish the product. So.
Right, but it's also not like, you know, the old schedule of the 1970s when the Shaw brothers were putting out 6 films a month.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about the industry in Asia, but we still go through crazy schedules. I mean, like, especially if we work for television, but you know, we had a, you know, very normal contracted, you know, was it like 12-hour days? I don't remember. We went over sometimes. I went over a lot, but then we try to make sure everyone stays within their schedule, you know, their contracted schedule, you know, just for many reasons.
You know, the story itself, and even the score, has that 1970s style, you know, police drama in there, but you bring in this sense of humor along with the East Asian martial arts aspect to it, and it's, you know, a very American police story style with a very Asian flair to it in a modern sense. So crossing over like these past 50 years, how important was it to telling the story and being able to connect the two eras together and even the two regions?
We lose Phil.
No, I'm here. I'm
I
asking,
think
just
he's
asking you,
contemplating
Andy.
the answer.
Oh, are you asking me or are you asking Andy?
I'm asking both of you.
Oh, well, go ahead, Andy. I want to hear you talk.
No, you go ahead. This is your department, really.
Okay, well, okay. I mean, I guess why was there like a crossover? I think the main thing is like I said, I wanted to do an homage to 80s and 90s movies that we watched growing up that influenced me and Andy and Vanessa so much, right? I mean, I don't think I wouldn't be in Hong Kong right now if it wasn't for those movies. So I mean, and I think a lot of the topics that and the flow of the story that we created is similar to movies from that era. I think that was the main reason why you see some of those similarities that come through in this movie, because we want to be an homage to those movies, but not exactly copying any storylines or any specific moments from those movies, but the tone and the feeling, but more in a modernized package.
Which is exactly what you guys did and you pulled off, and that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't done it without Andy and Vanessa, to be honest. I mean, you saw the movie, and you know, like, I don't know if you've seen our previous movies or movies that we've done previously. I think when I watch this movie again and again, because we keep doing promotions for it, I noticed that we're able to act more free in this movie because I think we're more comfortable with each other and we're not afraid of, you know, making mistakes. And I think when that happens, you know, you get a lot of gold, you know, a lot of good stuff. I mean, you cut away all the garbage, then you get a lot of gold, you know, because we're not afraid to do that garbage. So, and which is a rare thing, which doesn't happen a lot when you're working on projects outside, and especially if you're working with like, you know, like big senior actors, like Chow Yun-fat or Donnie. You know, you're afraid to kind of, you know, experiment too much. You just want to do your job, right? But when you're doing movies with your buddies and you're able to control these things, we're able to act better. So I don't know. I think Andy agrees. You know, we can ask Andy.
Definitely agree. I definitely agree. It's you know, we worked with a lot of other actors, and there's like, besides the whole ego thing, you know, there's just a lot of part where, you know, you just don't want to get put in too much info unless you're asked, you know, unless you're asked to do so. So, but with us, me, Phil, and Van, we shoot the shit all the time. So the acting on the screen or talking about each scene wasn't like there was no stress. There was zero stress or like any concern about how he's gonna feel about this, you know. So it was very, like Phil said, it's a lot of freedom.
Andy, you did make little mention of you know, censorship in China itself in the films, and we're not going to go too deep into that. But when you guys are finally allowed to cut loose, and Phil, please chime in on this. When you're finally allowed to cut loose, be a little more of yourselves, a little relaxed, and being able to create together with the three of you, how much more freeing is it for you in being able to tell a story that you might not have been able to otherwise?
I think for me, it was important that I mean, the story, I don't think there's anything complex or very, it's a pretty straightforward storyline, right? But I think for me, it was important that each set piece, each action piece flowed with the story. I mean, because a lot of times when I'm working outside of movies that I don't produce, but I'm working for other people as a director or action director, you know, you design a scene with, it's like I design a scene like a joke, right? There's a beginning, middle, and a punchline. There's a design to it. But a lot of people, when they look at your action that you film, they don't understand the design. They think it's just a series of punches and kicks. So they might cut it up and put it in where they think they need that visual impact, right? But the fight scene loses its soul. So I wanted to prevent that. And then so it was important for me to produce my own movie and keep those fight scenes intact, at least the design of the fight scene intact. I can take pieces out, but I need the design there. So that was the main impetus for me to create this project, and whenever I'm doing projects in the future moving forward. So that was the main impetus.
Because it did seem that you guys were your characters are intense, and I know the story isn't as complex as I'm trying to make it out to be, but there's also there's this sense of relaxation in there. Like, you can tell you guys are enjoying making this movie and telling this story. And, you know, we see the influences from the 80s, the 90s, and even some of the 70s and whatever else that's going forward. but it's still, you know, something that we can sit down for 90 minutes and just enjoy. The action scenes, the fight choreography, the fact that knowing that Phil is, you know, part of the production team as well as the cast and everything else that's going into it. So, you know, the freeing aspect of that. Phil, with you being the stunt coordinator the fight coordinator in this, take us through location selections, setup of the shot, because you're a huge part of that, and how you were able to create some of these fight scenes. Like early on, we don't want to go too deep because we want people to go see the film, but you know, the early on where Bob and the gang at the very beginning are getting together and smoking, you know, some people are smoking the product, and then there's the infiltration coming in, and you know, there's about 20 so people in the scene.
There was you mean the beginning, right? The opening scene. There's I think it was one of the biggest scenes that we filmed in the movie, and we put it first. You know, and then it's a film technique, right? You know, is to put a huge set piece in the beginning, so the audience will get lulled into thinking the rest of the movie, every sequence is very big. But you know, every sequence we put as much time in, right? But how do we design this? So I don't know if I mentioned this, but Indiana Jones, you know, how it came to be was George Lucas and Steven Spielberg sat down and talked about this, you know, 1930s serials the 1950s serials that they like, and certain specific situations, right? And then they wrote a movie around it. So we didn't necessarily do that. We had a structure of the movie. We knew exactly that, okay, this set piece will be here, this set piece will be here, and this set piece will be here. So we then went, and then, you know, pre-production, we scouted locations, you know, and then we found the ones that can accommodate for what we wanted to do, and then and we began there. And then in terms of my actual role in this movie, I'm actually the action director, and then the stunt coordinator is my second, Joe Chu, Juicy Fu, you know, works for me at every movie, Andy knows. So what I do is I design the scene, I design all the action, I design the beats, what happens where, what happens what, and then I have my choreography crew get together, and they fill in the action. I go in and watch it. I change what I need to change. I put in what I want to put in, and then once we lock in the previs, I start jotting down all the camera angles and all the camera movement, and then we get to the set, and when we do it, that's the general process. Yeah, and then I do that for every movie that I do. I mean, even a movie that I did recently with Andy, you know, I went in a couple weeks before he showed up to the set with my crew. Went to every location, designed the fight scene based on the script, filmed the previs, and then showed everybody on set. And when Andy was ready, you know, we shot the scene. So I mean, it's just my process for every single movie. But it's just the thing special about this one is that I get to really have a lot of control with the final edit. That's the main difference.
And when you do get to control the final edit and the product comes out the way you want it, there's obviously things that you shot that were probably fantastic action sequences that will be great on the Blu-ray special features, but didn't quite fit the narrative. Was there anything that the two of you shot that you really thought would have been fantastic for the film, but ended up on the cutting room floor because it just didn't fit the storytelling?
I think we put some of the stuff in the ending credits of the show. So, but not too much stuff that we cut out. A lot of the stuff that we thought were good, we kept in the movie. There was a couple of shots that didn't fit in terms of pacing. It didn't make sense, so we had to put it in the end roller. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a beautiful film. I mean, the action sequences are fantastic. The only thing I'm giving away at the end, and it's very minimal, is the knife fight scene. I thought that was amazing.
No, a lot of people like that scene.
It was fantastic.
My favorite.
And Van did a great job, you know.
Yeah. So, you know,
I mean, I have to credit. I mean, speaking of that scene, I mean, you have to credit Van, right? I mean, you see the shots that I used; it was all him. I mean, I didn't do any tight shots. Everything was a mid shot, basically, and every time he's flipping the knife, and I made sure to make him happy. I would just make sure to film him. Just okay, Van, look at the shot. It's all you, and you can see every flip. So, you know, I mean, it's credit to him, because if he didn't train it, I couldn't film it.
Right. So what you're saying is Van was the biggest diva on set that week?
Oh, no. He's the biggest diva in the world. No, he's not. Of course not. It was very. I mean, my brothers were very cooperative. It was very. If it was anyone else, I think they would have left the set, because it was a very difficult suit.
Well, that's the lead into the next thing. Take us through the shoot, the scheduling for it, the pacing for it. You know, you said it was very difficult to pull off. So, you know, you use practical effects in it, you know, for a lot of it, and especially with the stunts. You know, the blood is a little more CG aspect of it instead of just blood packets, and it's not gory in the least. So we're happy with that. But like, take us through the scheduling and the pacing.
Oh, wow. I mean, first went to pre-production. Did a couple months of that. Basically, we gathered the crew. You know, okay. Let's start from the beginning. So, you know, I was selling the product. I got the product, and then we went through a bunch of different directors, bunch of different scripts. Eventually, finalized on 2 directors in the script. And then once we finalized everything, we started designing the scenes. We started, you know, having pre-production meetings, getting together how certain people would look, starting casting different actors and everything. And then once we started, the main problem is the script was there, but there's a lot of story beats that we still haven't really locked in. So basically, I would go in to work like 2 or 3 hours before everybody else, set everything up. Everyone comes in for makeup. We shoot for the day, and then after the day is done, I have a meeting with my crew, and then I go to the office, the script office, and then hammer out the rest of the story. So basically, I sleep 2 hours a day, literally for the whole movie. So that was my schedule. For my buddies, you know, they just came in when they need to work. But I mean, it wasn't easy either. I mean, like Andy says, he has to wake up early, you know, work out, come in, film all day, and then because it was a hectic schedule, I couldn't really tell him exactly when he was going to be leaving. So I mean, they all accommodated for me. But you know, in terms of exact schedules and everything, I don't quite remember. It's been a while, but it was like out of I've done over 40 productions, and this was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. And but I'm glad for this experience, because now I know for the next ones that I'm going to produce what to avoid and what to do. So it was the first step is hardest, but I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad my friends were there to kind of make the landing a little bit softer.
Right, but did you guys have like 14 days, 28 days, 3 months? Like, how did that work?
Oh, no, we finished it was under 30 shooting days. I think it was around 28. I think it was actually a very short shoot. But I mean, I don't know. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Shanghai with me and Andy? I'm not sure you have.
Yeah, I have.
That was only like that was a less than 30-day shoot too. I mean, we're used to like shooting all that stuff in such a short time, but it's a little more difficult when I'm producing it as well. If I'm just acting in it, like in Once Upon a Time in Shanghai, that was fine. You know, I get to go home and work, go to the gym, and then go to sleep. You know, in this I didn't. So.
Now, Phil, you mentioned the directors, but we come to find out that these are first-time co-directors, Liao Kun Nam and Frankie Tam.
Philip Lui. Yeah, Philip Lui, Lui Kun Nam, Philip Lui, and Frankie Tam. They're very prolific script writers. If you do a little research on them, most of the movies in China and Hong Kong are written by either one of them or both, and a lot of the big blockbusters that do insane income from China box office, they do that. So I mean, they're very prolific, so they know what they're doing. And they're one of their sifus, one of their mentors is Gordon Chan. So we got him on board, and then so he recommended those 2 guys, and then it worked out really well, you know. And I'm still working with them today.
Well, I mean, they have a great eye for detail. But with you guys, you know, Andy, Phil, you know, Van, you guys have worked together so many times and so long and have become so tight. When you get a first time set of directors, especially in a tight schedule, like how quickly are you to jump on board, or how reserved are you to see what they try to pull off? Because, you know, you guys are like Team A, and here come the rookies, you know, almost infiltrating the set.
I trusted their judgment, because they know how to tell a story, you know, and I trusted their judgment. Of course, you know, I had my opinions, and I have very strong opinions, but at the end of the day, you know, I listen to what I believe is right, and I'm not always right. So I mean, you know, I trust their judgment. I think it was fine, and I think Andy was very comfortable with them, I believe, right?
Very comfortable. I mean, you know, I liked them from the get-go. they were just like us, except they were just writers instead of like actors.
They're basically nerds. They're movie nerds like us.
Yeah.
So
that-
you know, it
that's-
was really easy for us to communicate.
Phil, you're so diplomatic on this, man. You know, I feel that you're going to run for office at some point.
Yeah, I know. I try not to be too political, but I try to make everyone comfortable, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're just entertainers, and and then I think as long as we do our jobs good, I think that's already serving society.
Right. Well, you have a great job. You sit there, you get to exercise, you get to work in films, you get to act, and you get to do fight scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't get
I
much
just
better
wish I
than that.
met more girls. People say like you meet a lot of girls in this industry. I don't know. I don't think that's true. I mean, I hang out with this guy and his kids every day.
Yeah. What they're not telling you is that they're in the same house right now, just in 2 separate rooms.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, buddy.
You know, I've actually conducted interviews like that where they'd be in the same house but in 2 separate rooms for
Different
some
rooms.
reason. Yeah, and I'm like, why? And they're just like, I like I like the bookshelf and the scenery in this room over here. The way you have your Mickey Mouse doll and your action figures in their boxes behind you.
Yeah.
And then Andy
Yeah,
likes his
I didn't
closet,
take out the
so
Mickey Mouse doll.
it's all
I
right.
left it in. I was hoping you'd notice the Shang-Chi poster.
Of course. Yeah. Well, Shang-Chi's going to be coming out soon, in
Yeah,
the United
looking forward
States.
to
We're
it.
looking for it. Yeah. You know, I talked to Jim Sterling about a week ago because he was the guy that
did you?
created him. Yeah. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course I know.
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd.
Well, for the people
you
that
talk
don't
about
know
it.
that are that are coming in, so we got to tell them too. Like I got to tell you with the poster on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Andy just likes soccer, and he was like, I don't know why the hell they're talking Marvel Comics.
He likes football, American football. He's a football player when he was younger. I don't know if you can tell.
And I was more, I didn't fall into the American comics until my later years. I was more like Japanese comics and
Oh yeah, Fist of the North Star. That's his jam.
City Hunter and all that crap.
Yeah. And then what you started with like Japanese manga and then moved over to American comics later on?
Not even. I mean, when we're young, even if you're, because I grew up, I was growing up in Asia at the time, but even though that, we would still know the famous American, superheroes like, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. Those were the only ones that I know. I didn't know about Thor until Thor the movie came out. Yeah.
Oh, it's great because I'm like the group nerd, right? So every time we watch these Marvel movies together, I get like infinite questions
Like
from
the
Andy.
encyclopedia.
Hey Andy, I was like, did you get that scene?
No, I don't know. He's always like talking about the Easter eggs and all that stuff. I'm like, no.
Don't worry. When X-Men 1 came out and then my friend finally rented it, we were in college at the time. And he's like, what's this? And like, I spent so much time explaining it to him that we burnt dinner. Trying to explain everything to him. Yeah. And
Dinner.
yeah. Cause like, he rented the movie. So we're like, all right. So we're watching. He's like, what's this? I don't get this. And all the time I spent explaining to him, like we burnt the pizza.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you pause it every time and just explain it to him?
Every time. Why does Wolverine have claws?
I
Why
feel
does Storm?
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. I've been in that position.
Yeah. And then I love how Andy says that he was in Asia at the time. You have to remember, Asia is a huge continent from Turkey to Indonesia. So, we got a lot of land mass to cover.
It's all over.
Right.
It's all over.
Right.
It was like
he came and hung out with my family in the western side of the continent.
Yeah. Like Kenshiro,
Right.
Just like his hero.
Just followed that Silk Road the whole way, going back and forth.
Punching buildings.
Yeah. Well, when you guys nerd out about stuff together, I mean, you've created this relationship through cinema and through acting. I don't know how long you guys have known each other, whether it was just through film or
20
film
years.
school. 20 years. Okay, so
almost 20 years, yeah.
So at the start
We
of
met
your
on
careers,
we met on Star Runner, all three of us. Well, Andy knew Vanessa already. I don't think Andy and Vanessa got along until that movie. That's a funny story.
So what happened with you guys? Like you guys just grew up together and didn't like each other, or?
How about you and Van?
Yeah, Andy and
Before Star Runner.
I think there was a lot of misunderstanding, and also like I was pretty immature. I didn't think too much about boy bands and stuff. And Ben was like, I was doing a little bit of hating on that stuff. But then there was like times where we would bump into each other, and you know, he would say something and I would take it the wrong way, or I would say something and he would take it the wrong way. And then until we did Star Runner, one day we were just after work, we went to grab a beer, and then Van was just like, "You don't like me, do you, Andy?" And I was like, "No, I thought you didn't like me." And then after that day, we became buddies.
And now we're best friends. Like, he's like the godfather to his children too.
All right. Since Phil has no game with the women at this point, apparently, and I totally think he's lying. Andy, you're married with kids. What's it like for your kids to realize, you know, are they old enough to see some of your films? And what's it like for their friends when they recognize you?
I have a daughter. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. My daughter, I've shown clips of my projects to my daughter, and yeah, it's usually the tragic scenes where
Why? Really?
I just want to see how they react. You know, my daughter goes, she's like,
Did you cry?
Starts crying, runs away. My son is more like,
I would make your daughter watch my TV shows when they're on, though. I don't know.
yeah, you should. She'd probably watch.
No, I do. I make her. Like, you're not in Hong Kong, so I'm sitting there like, watch the show, girl.
See, but that makes it fun. I mean, you guys have this relationship 20 plus years that you're able to do stuff like that. And then, you know, one more spoiler from the film, the Meth Queen, because you know, there's certain things we can give a little hint. You know, tells Phil's character and Van's character, you know, oh, you thought you were so handsome that you could seduce me, and then your guys' egos get in the way of trying to figure out who she was calling the ugly one.
Yeah, because like that in real life. So, you know, I'm very upset that Van is a pop star, and then whenever I go with him, I'm invisible. So I put that feeling in the movie. It worked out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean,
I was going to say, so karaoke night's fun with him.
Oh, it's great. He has the mic and we're just drinking beer. No, it's fine. No, I mean, you know, how do I say this? Like, it's for the tone. We're trying to do an homage to movies from the 80s and 90s. And I think a lot of those times in those movies, there's like the buddy cop comedy kind of aspect to it. So we want to put a little bit of that, like, buddy conflict in there, and a lot of times it's the humor that stems from those movies is like based on the ego of the two characters involved. Usually, like, there's like, if you watch like Wheels on Meals, you know, like Jackie Chan and Yun Biu fight over that Spanish girl, you know, and it's like there's like we didn't have time for a whole romantic subplot and stuff like that, but we wanted to put that kind of conflict between me and Van, you know, and there's different places that the script writers and the directors put it in, and that was one of the places. Right.
Well, I mean, you know, you were the straight man to his overly flamboyant's not the right word, energetic character in that regard.
Yeah, he's been described in, you know, with different adjectives, but you know, he really, I mean, the one thing I did give credit to Van is that I mean, at that time when we did that movie, is something that he is a role that is very polar opposite to everything that he's been offered, because, you know, he's a pop star. Most of the stuff that he does is, you know, as you expect a pop star to perform in, but you know, but he's very athletic. He likes to dance, he likes to fight, and he likes to do all that stuff. And then I think he also relished at the opportunity that he could able to kind of play a character that he doesn't usually play and do action that other people would not let him do.
Andy, I feel like you're being neglected in this conversation.
So. Oh, no, I'm not really a talker.
So okay. so essentially you're just really you know, you just sit there and do your thing, and you know, and that's it. Take care of business, and we're done for.
I'm pretty simple.
But Andy's like that usually in interviews, I know. And I mean, he's such a, you know, he's such a big, strong man, but I mean, he's so innocent and boy-like. I mean, when we do interviews now, he still sweats when we're out doing like interviews with like the press. He's always sweating. He's still just a very.
I'm much better now. I'm much better now. Before I get nervous and
he's very shy.
My sweat glands just go.
And that's why you guys are sitting in two separate rooms, because Andy's deodorant has now failed him. Got it. So.
Phil.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Come on, the doors even match, so you know.
Yeah, I actually did that on purpose because I knew he was.
Yeah. With everything going on, I mean, the movie right now is on Haya. It premiered May 7th, and it's coming to Blu-ray and DVD June 8th in the United States, and it's getting an English dub for the American audience. I watched it in the original language with the subtitles. Sometimes when things get dubbed, it's a difficult translation, and it's even funnier trying to watch the dub with the subtitles because even they don't match it at times.
That's precisely why we did the dub. All three of us did the English dub, which is very rare for localization.
Which you beat me to it. So everyone did their own voice in English on top of everything else. You know, so what is it like not only filming it in the original language and then coming back and dubbing it in English? You know, Hong Kong was British Hong Kong for so many years. The English was the second language over there anyway, but now coming back and with your American accents that you guys have developed over the years, you know, coming back and doing that for us over here in the States.
I haven't actually seen the English dub for them. I haven't heard their voices. We all just did our own voices. So I'm excited to see how they did it actually. But I mean, like, you know, growing up in America, watching all those, you know, Chinese movies that are dubbed in English, you know, I just couldn't pass the opportunity to do it. And I think it's cringy, right? But I couldn't pass the opportunity to do it. You know, it's just like it's to finish our homage to the movies from the 80s and 90s.
So what you're telling me is the English dub is a beat and a half off from what's really going on in every scene.
I know it's fine. I don't want to say that because then the voice director is gonna beat me up. They gave me a discount, so no. But everything we did the best that we could. I just want to hear Vanessa's dub because I know I heard he told me that he did a lot of exaggerated things in the dub, so I want to hear it.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're running out of time. I know you have a couple of other interviews coming up soon. Tell people why they need to watch this film in particular, Undercover Punch and Gun. And what is the original title in the original language? Because I assume this is a loose translation, or is this a verbatim translation of the title?
I think the title is the English title we created, and we had to fight for it. You know, there's a reason why we created that title as an homage to stuff from the 80s and 90s, but why do we need to watch this movie? I think if you enjoy action, you enjoy, like, you know, three brothers, you know, putting their heart into making a movie, and you want to continue to see us do more movies, please support this one, because if you support this one, that means it tells the investors, it tells people who pay for this stuff that, you know, they're interested in having more of these products. So and I think bottom line is we worked hard on this movie, and we believe that the audience will enjoy it, so that's why they should watch it.
All right, and real quick before I let you guys go, there's like 17 Super Cop movies. How many sequels are we getting out of this one? At least with you and Van, and then Andy Keaton keep coming back as different anti-heroes throughout the franchise with different haircuts.
I think this one's the one and done. But we're definitely, I've been especially this year with a lot of my projects being postponed, I've been developing quite a few projects with my writing partner, and I'm confident that we should be able to start production on one before the end of the year. So you see us together again, me and my brothers, but maybe in a different story.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Undercover Punch and Gun is on Haya right now, streaming as of May 7th, excuse me, and is coming to digital DVD and Blu-ray June 8th with an all-new English dub from Wellgo USA Entertainment. Where can we find you gentlemen on social media if we want to connect?
You can, my handle is Straight Blast 5 on all my social media, Instagram and Facebook, Straight Blast and then 5, you know, and then you'll find me.
I only do Instagram. I'm not even on it that much. I only explore random videos. But it's Andy Animal at Instagram.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great pleasure. Phil, it's great to see you after all these years. Andy,
yeah,
great to meet you. Yeah, well, hopefully, you know, we'll do it again face-to-face at some point. And then, Andy, I get to meet you face-to-face as well.
It'll be a pleasure, RC. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
and
sir.
guys, have a great evening or a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right.